This weekend, the world was introduced to SRX Racing, a new racing series created by Tony Stewart, a 3-time NASCAR Cup champion, and Ray Everham, a 3-time Crew Chief Cup champion. The series just started this last weekend and will continue all the way to July 17th at 6 different racetracks across the country. The first race was held at Stafford Speedway, and by God did it turn a lot of heads this weekend. From the racing, the cars, the broadcast, and the rules, everything just seemed to work for the startup series. So much so that we might have given NASCAR some great tips on what changes they could consider in the coming years. So what changes were those exactly? Well, let's dive into it. I'm Vanilla Wafers from NASCARFieldFailer.com, and this is 7 things that SRX Racing did better than NASCAR. Number 1, meet and greet with the drivers. NASCAR fans are a rambunctious crowd, and nothing fuels their rowdiness more than meeting their favorite driver in person and getting an autograph. The only issue with that is that NASCAR drivers are hard to come by. Usually the best you can get is a half-assed smile and a wave from some of your favorite drivers. Aw, that's nice. SRX Racing decided to make it a little bit friendlier and have all the fans be able to meet the drivers and have them sign some apparel while having a quick conversation with them. Now that is something that any race fan, especially kids, could get into for any kind of racing. Way to make the fans love you from the start, SRX. That was pretty good. Number 2, more short track racing. NASCAR back in the early 2000s was able to go to any type of venue and fill up every single seat in attendance. It didn't matter what track they were at, wherever they went, the fans would always come in tens of thousands. Now flash forward to the late 2010s, and NASCAR can't even have the drivers' own grandparents come to the event. Now these giant racetracks look like barren wastelands when focusing on the grandstand anytime on race day. Most fans blame this on the fact that most of the tracks on the schedule consist of too many tracks above 1 mile in length and almost being carbon copies of each other, thus giving them the delicious name cookie cutters. SRX decided to keep their schedule to smaller tracks, which include Knoxville, Eldora, Lucas Oil, and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Many fans praise the schedule due to the fact that all the tracks remain underneath 3/4 of a mile long, something that NASCAR used to do in the earlier days of racing before all the 1.5-mile racetracks came along. NASCAR might have to look closely at this when they start making the schedule for the 2022 season and see if they include some more short tracks on their schedule. Let's see much more of this and a lot less of this. Number 3, the way the cars race around each other. It seemed like throughout the 100-lap main event at Stafford, cars were passing each other left and right, something that has been missing in NASCAR's top series for many years, especially with the Gen 6 car. The races have felt more like a boring case of follow the leader rather than a race of action-packed from beginning to end, as the cars typically get too loose while attempting to pass a car ahead of them. NASCAR has tried multiple ways to help the racing on the racetrack, such as using PJ1 traction compound. However, that has caused way more controversy than what most people were hoping for. The SRX cars were able to run around the racetrack, stay close to each other on every turn, and not have to worry about ridiculous things such as side drafting. Here's hoping that the next gen cars do better than their predecessors by providing some more action around the racetrack. Number 4, shorter main events. From the beginning of the 2000s compared to today, the human attention span has dropped significantly, so much so that our attention span has gotten worse than a goldfish. What the fuck? Because of this, it seems like SRX's approach to have shorter races compared to other series might be a better idea for racing leagues such as NASCAR. Now, I'm not saying that the Daytona 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 should be cut short, as these are considered crown jewel events in the series. However, some other races that do not hold nearly as much prestige can be reduced to shorter events such as 250 to 300 miles long, rather than the absurd 400 to 500 mile event. Now I can already see the backlash of NASCAR fans getting mad at the idea of races they're attending being cut short. Well, don't worry, SRX had another idea for that one. Number 5, heat races. Before the 100-lap main event, SRX decided to hold 2 36-lap heat races with all the drivers participating to determine the starting lineup for the main event. Call me crazy, but I believe that there is a way where NASCAR can have heat races similar to SRX, and no, I'm not just talking about just the duels at Daytona, I'm talking about heat races for every single race. What if NASCAR was able to do short heat races with half of the cars in one heat and the second half in the others? Similar to the duels, the heat races would determine the starting lineup for the main event. Also, we could eliminate stage racing and award points to the top 10 finishers of each heat. More than 40 drivers on the entry list? No worries, the cutoff for the main event will be 21st on back, regardless of whether they have a charter or not. They will receive 1 point and not run in the main event. Now, many people can consider this as an excuse to wreck more cars or to take out teams that don't deserve a charter, but these arguments seem to take care of themselves. If a team wrecks early in a race, they wouldn't have come back in the last stage of the race anyways. Also, if a team misses the main event, they would have accumulated the same amount of points as if they ran the whole race. It seems like a win-win. More races for the fans, more opportunity for mid-tier teams to score points, and more priority on speed to make it into the race. Number 6, the pace car. This one's short and one that seems like the least important, but I had to share it on this video. SRX decided to make their official pace car a classic street rod that you would see in a car show. I don't know about you guys, but that was definitely a lot better than seeing some of NASCAR's chosen pace cars. I mean, look at this. Does this look like a car worthy of leading 40 high-octane race cars to the green flag? Ugh. Just get me back to the street rod again. Oh yeah. And number 7, the commentating. You know what always gets a crowd hyped up for an event? The analysts behind the speakers. That's why in sports so many people like to point out which analysts are the best and which ones are the worst. In the world of auto sports, most people consider Alan Bestwick to be one of the best analysts in the world of racing, and the SRX Racing's premiere, he showed why. Bestwick throughout the entire race was able to hold people's attention and provide great play-by-play action without adding any comparisons to other sports, something that NASCAR broadcasters have a hard time doing. It seems like every time fans tune into a NASCAR race, they are always reminded of how NASCAR can be compared to a baseball playoff format or the NFL. Look, I don't care how much NASCAR changes the rulebook, this is never going to be the same as this. It's ridiculous to compare. Now, NASCAR may not have Bestwick up in their booth, however, there are analysts in the sport that are fully capable of providing great coverage similar to what Alan Bestwick can do. As long as they stop comparing themselves to other sports and focus on the action on the racetrack, people will be glued to their races rather than finding a new series that listens to the fans. And that's the last of them. Was there anything that we missed out on? Let us know in the comment section below, and thank you so much for listening to the best and trying out all the rest. My name is Vanilla Wafers with NASCARFieldFiller.com, and you all take care.